Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you're all doing great. Today I want to bring something a bit different. Not just the Bitcoin analysis, but the full context behind what's really going on. Because what's happening in the markets right now doesn't make sense if you only look at the chart. We're seeing talk about blockades and strategic straits, threats to key oil routes, and tensions that seem to be escalating non-stop. And of course, if all of that were to fully materialize, the impact on global energy supply would be massive. But something doesn't quite add up. If we were truly on the edge of an uncontrollable conflict, markets would be reacting very differently. Oil has gone up, sure, and there's some tension in bonds, but equities are holding up, and that's not random. My personal take is that what we're seeing isn't a real escalation toward full-scale war. It's more of a controlled escalation designed to eventually de-escalate. And if you think about it from a strategic perspective, it actually makes a lot of sense. Imagine a scenario where Iran makes meaningful concessions, like reducing its nuclear program or pulling back support from certain regional actors. In return, the USS could ease sanctions, unlock frozen assets, and gradually reintegrate Iran into global trade. Who wins? Both sides. Those decisions are made by technical teams, negotiators, people working behind the scenes for weeks or months. And when everything is more or less agreed, that's when the deal becomes public. The signal to watch is simple. When real activity slows down, fewer attacks, fewer incidents, it usually means something is shifting in the background. And more importantly, liquidity has held up much better than most people expected. Many thought this situation would break liquidity, trigger a sharp drop, and stress the system, but the opposite happened. Large players stepped in, stabilized things, and prevented things from spiraling out of control. That tells us two things. First, a lot of the fear is already priced in. We're not in a panic phase, we're in a controlled adjustment phase. Second, when the situation calms down, even slightly, that capital sitting on the sidelines can rotate back into risk, and when it does, it moves fast. Now let's move to the chart. Bitcoin is on the screen, because now that we understand the context, we can look at price action properly. In the short term, Bitcoin has been trading in a very clear range between $69,000 and $74,000. And as I mentioned in previous videos, these kinds of ranges are not random. When price gets stuck like this for days or weeks, what's usually happening underneath is accumulation. Now, just because we're at resistance doesn't mean we're going to break it on the first try. A lot of people think price just taps a level once and breaks through, but that's not how markets work. Usually, price tests a level multiple times, consumes liquidity each time, and slowly weakens that barrier until it finally breaks. So I wouldn't be surprised to see multiple tests of the 74,000 level, maybe even some fake breakouts or pullbacks before a real move. And this is where volume becomes crucial. When you see strong volume, the price isn't moving as expected. Now, to really understand the short term, we need to know where we are in the cycle. If we look at long-term indicators, like the weekly RC, we've been in oversold zones that historically align with major bottoms like in 2018 and 2018. And now, we may be starting to form a bullish divergence on the weekly time frame. So, putting everything together, we have a geopolitical backdrop that points more toward negotiation than real escalation. If that plays out, capital sitting in safe assets has a reason to rotate back into risk. And if there's one market that reacts fast when liquidity returns, it's crypto. Just like we're the first to drop when liquidity dries up, we're also the first to move when it comes back. And it doesn't even need a full liquidity return. Markets are complex, the world is chaotic, and there are many variables we can't control. But overall, this builds a scenario that makes a lot of sense.